Hey everyone, welcome to Lauren's Scraplot. I am Lauren Urbonis, your Stampin' Up! Independent demonstrator and host of the weekly series, Show Me How It's Done. So today we're going a little out of this world on our project, and I not only have the project that I'm going to show you today, but I have a bunch of other projects that I'm just going to flip through at the very end to give you more ideas of what you can do with this amazing suite. So this suite is in the 2023 to 2024 annual catalog, and it is on page 86 and 87 because I see that's just out of your range. So I wanted to kind of show you the whole fun suite, and I will go through the different pieces with you that I have here on my desk as we play with them. But it's just a really, really fun I guess card set and paper and stuff for anybody who loves space and who loves astronauts. You don't even have to use the astronauts or the space shuttle. You can just use the gorgeous like galaxy scenes in here as well. So there are no embellishments per se that go with it or ribbons, but there is a little die set. You can see this tiny little star that you can use to cut out your own kind of funfetti stars for your projects. So the Reach for the Stars stamp set is really fun. You've got a few great sentiments that kind of fit with the theme, and then very bold for the rocket ship and the astronaut there. There is a coordinating die set. So these ovals, they cut out in one shot, and they're what you see on the rings of the planets here. So they come in two sizes, so you can do the smaller little planet or the larger planet. There are silhouettes for your astronaut and your rocket ship. These little bubbly looking things, they don't actually cut out bubbles, but they impress in your paper and make kind of a fun little bubble or funky look. So they're really fun if you want to make your own planets out of just plain cardstock. Then you can add some texture and kind of look like craters on there. And then we do have lots of these stars, so you can cut those out just with plain cardstock, or there's a really cool holographic paper that I'm going to show you in a second. Now, one of my favorite things probably is these layering circles, simply because you don't just have to use them for this project. We now have a set of layering circles that you can use for labels and you can use for tons of other projects in the future. So make sure if you buy this set that you kind of keep that in mind, that, oh yeah, I have all those layering circles, because we no longer have a layering circle set that doesn't have any stitching, so you can use those later too. So here is the stamp set. And here is the paper. So I had to open up a brand new pack of paper because I used this paper and set for one of my cards back in June for my monthly club. And so those monthly clubs, they'll get 3 cards that are always a surprise. And I try to theme them, you know, around what's just recently come out or an upcoming occasion. So we did some masculine cards because Father's Day was mid-June and we needed a few projects for that. But it was easy for people, if they didn't need a Father's Day card, to kind of turn this into a birthday card, or just take out some of these 2 images and make like a galaxy card for anyone. But I used the entire paper pack between prepping their cards and then the few cards that I'm going to show you. So this is a brand new package that I have brought out so I can show you the amazing sheets that are in here. This one is really fun, you know, those bubbles that I talked about. So you can make your own planets with this paper just by cutting out a circle with those layering dies in any size you want. Or of course, you might want the front of this. We've got kind of some reddish hues in there, some berry burst, and then some fun blue stars on the back. I didn't even get to play with some of these papers because I had to use these galaxy scenes for the card that I did at club. So I didn't even get to play with these stars. They're so cute. And then here is probably my favorite couple sheets of paper, because these planets right here, you can basically come around with your dies and you can cut, you have to like match them up. You can cut all these planets out with the different shaped dies. The only planets from this page that don't cut out are the ones that have the rings on them. And so if you want to use them, you just have to cut those two out by hand. And but that's okay. There's plenty for you to do. So basically you can just kind of take these sheets and like demolish them like I did here. Look, I brought this whole package. See, this is a bunch of my scraps. I have a whole pile, but I just literally sat here with those dies and did all the planets that I could. I even used these edge pieces. You're going to see them come into play on some of my other cards. And so that's what I mean by like using every single inch of this paper to be able to, I don't want to lose a die, to be able to make tons of planets. So make sure to cut out these ones, these ones, these ones. You're going to use them all. So this paper has kind of red, purple, oranges, yellows in there, and there's 2 of those. So you have to cut all those out. The back side is another beautiful galaxy piece. Unfortunately, you're probably not going to use it. And then this one has a really gorgeous kind of focal nebula. And the back is this fun green, and I used that on a bunch of projects too. So I took all of my circle dies and I just chopped, and I needed a bunch of these size ones and for the class card, which you'll see after. And then last but not least, there's this gorgeous sheet, very similar to the one we just saw, but just a different color scheme. So there is so much potential for you to play with cards and projects with this paper. And if that's not enough, there's specialty paper here that has a holographic effect. So I only have one of these kind of plain silver ones left because I used a bunch of them to cut out rings for my planets. But then I'm really excited because I haven't even touched these 2. And this one's got kind of like that rainbow sheen to it. So I can either use it with this, or I can use it probably with another project if I wanted as well. And then this one is gorgeous. It's got kind of that bluish purple tint to it. So I'm really excited. There's actually like a flower border die that is in my brain to kind of like maybe play with this. So if that turns out, I will show it to you. Or I guess maybe if it doesn't, I should still post it. Okay, are you ready to get crafting? So if you own this set, you can craft along with me. And maybe if you don't, this video is enough to make you fall in love with it. And then you can also get it in the future. So if you need any codes for things, if you're not sure what I've used on a project, put all the measurements for the project and all of the supplies in the description on this video. So you can always come back later and kind of have your pieces pre-cut and follow along, or you're more than welcome to just check that supply list and you're like, oh, I own this, 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 but I don't own this. And you can either shop from my website at the bottom of the page, or I've put the little product link, which should take you right to it on my website as well. So, and if that's not enough, message me with any questions. If I've forgotten something, please tell me. I'd love to fix it for everyone. Okay, so the project that we're doing today is this planetary one, because I figured, hey, this could be for anyone, and it's kind of hard for you to read. Here we go. It says reach for the stars, and you could probably have done that in gold or silver even, but I liked the white. When I'm right here, I can see it. I realize on the camera it might be a little bright for you, and it's probably reflecting my little holographic stuff. So this could be interesting, but it's still going to be great. Okay, so we're starting with a card base, and I'm using our new blue. It's called Azure Afternoon, and again, nobody's corrected me phonetically yet on that one, so I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that one right. But it is really nice. Like, it's very bright and cheery, but then also subtle enough that I feel like it kind of like has a muted tone to it. So I'm quite pleased with this new color. I have cut this at 5.5 by 8.5, and I've got a little scored mark here at 4 1/4, so that all I need to do is fold my card in half with my little bone folder, Got the inside and the outside there. Okay, so now on the inside, we're gonna do that first because I always like to have something to write on. So I've cut myself a piece of basic white. But before I attach this inside, I thought, hey, I didn't put an astronaut on the front of my card on this one, but I still want to include him. So I'm going to do a little stamping. My piece here is 4 inches by 5 1/4, but you'll probably want to stamp like, you can either grab a scrap paper or just a little cheater's version. Nobody's seeing the inside of this blue. So if you stamp on that, you should be golden. Okay, so we've got the Azure Afternoon ink pad, and it's very juicy because it's almost brand new. I've only used it a couple times. I'm just putting him in this corner here. So I'm not stamping his legs on because I didn't want to take over the entire space that I had to write, but let him dry for a second because he is quite wet, and get yourself kind of resituated. Like I mentioned, nobody's seeing what's in here, so I can simply attach this white piece right over top of that empty space. So my tool of trade is always, I love the double-sided tape. It's called the tear tape, or also tearable tape. Not terrible, tearable, or able. You can tear it. So I like using that stuff just because it's so easy. I don't need to have scissors with me, so I can do this like on an airplane or on a train or a bus. Not that I do that much of that because I get motion sick, so I don't really craft that many places other than a stable desk. But I do use them at my my kids' games and soccer games and stuff. So anyways, here we go. This guy goes inside. We also have glue or a seal runner, if you prefer. So there's your adorable inside of the card. Let's work on the outside here. There we go. Okay, so for the front, I would like a piece of basic black, and that's giving me this gorgeous little frame around everything. This one is also 4 inches by 5 1/4. But instead of taping it, I'm actually going to pop this piece up on dimensionals, so it kind of looks like it's coming out of the page at you. And you do want to make sure you have some dimension on this card because our galaxy is not flat. It is quite three-dimensional. So make sure you're doing this a few times on this kind of a project. Should say if you're watching live, make sure to say hello. I'd love to see who's there. Sometimes the feed doesn't load it as quickly as I'd like, so I can always see it, but it sometimes is after the fact, and that's all right. Okay, here we go. Put this guy right in the middle, so you've got a nice blue border all the way around it. And then we're gonna move this to the side and kind of concentrate on the piece of designer paper that you have cut out from one of your many beautiful galaxy pieces. So this just happens to be the one that has kind of the berry burst and the black and fresh frisée all mixed together, just because it's the paper I'm using. But if you want more of a bluish tint, you saw that one. If you want more like black galaxy stars, there's also that too. So any of the sheets will work. This sheet you're going to cut at 3 3/4 by 5, okay? And the reason that we're going to just work on this separately is because if you want to trim any of these planets off, it's easier to do that when they're kind of just on this piece of paper now. But this is also a great use of those edge pieces that I was mentioning, because sometimes they come pre-cut with this like flat edge, and you're like, well, what am I gonna do with that? This card is what you're gonna do with that. Okay, so let's start with our focus pieces. That's going to be the 2 planets that are fully on here with their beautiful little rings, and Earth that we're going to do a little bit of embossing on. Everything else you will fill in the blanks as you want to later. But let's start with these 2. So with that holographic paper, I've cut out the large set of rings. and the small set of rings. And then I've cut out the planets that kind of fit in them. So you'll notice in these planets here, so the largest circle, and you can kind of play with the dies, the largest circle like just fits, it's kind of touching the edges. So this is the one that you're gonna want for this set. And then this little guy, you kind of have to play with, I think it's the third size. Yes, there we go. So planet number 3. You can also use the second smallest. You'll just have a much larger set of rings around it, but that's okay too. But if you want a little bit more of a proportional planet, you're using the third smallest and the very largest for these two. Okay. But again, you're probably cutting out all the planets and then you're just going to play with what you have. So I thought I will do a little different color scheme. So I've cut out my reddish planet. I'm going to kind of set this inside my rings wherever I'm happy. And then just on the back, I'm going to put a piece of tape across the back here so that my planet doesn't go anywhere. Those rings don't fall off and kind of move out of position. And then you're going to sit here with some dimensionals and pop this one up. So this is your main focus piece, and then everything else is kind of moving around it. It's not the sun. And I know I probably vary off with the colors of the planets that actually have rings in the solar system, so I apologize to any astrologers out there. Okay, this guy is going up in my left-hand corner. Of course, this is your card. Feel free to switch things around, make them look different. And then I have this bluish planet that's going to get rings. Again, no idea whether this is actually astronomically correct. So apologize in advance, but they all look pretty. Again, the mini dimensionals will fit perfectly in these rings. And you'll be able to put this guy on. As well. So I moved this one kind of down towards just below that large planet on the right hand side, and that left me a nice open space for me to put my Earth. So there's lots of different planets. You can cut this out of any sort of different color, but I thought I like the Earth. I haven't used it a lot, so I'm using it on this project. And I'm going to use the sentiment that says reach for the stars, because I figured if I wanted to turn this into a birthday card, it would be quite easy to do that. I could turn this into a congratulations card, a graduation card. It's very wide open in the sentiment that I'm using. So I need some embossing tools here. Yes, there we go. Versamark, white embossing powder, and a tray, because I like to work on a tray. So we are going to just tap, tap, tap on that sticky Versamark. And we're going to put some embossing powder on top. This is where I have the tray, because otherwise you'll get embossing powder all over you. Oh. And this would have been smart for me to grab. Do I have them? Maybe. My little tweezers. Because this is a very small piece. You have them. Probably should have had them on the tweezers first. But that's good. Shake, shake, shake. Come on. There we go. Okay. Put them on the tweezers. There we go. So we've got our little sentiment that you can barely see because it does blend quite nicely. I'm going to bring in my heat tool and heat up these words. So you'll notice they're going to turn from kind of a powdery, barely can see look to something that is quite shiny. And that's exactly what you're going to want. So I'm going to do that. You won't really be able to hear me Hopefully you can see now. Very shiny. There we go. Okay, this earth I also popped up on dimensionals as I wanted it to kind of have a little focus. And there we go. And that can go just nicely in this open space. Okay, then the fun begins. You can basically go and grab any of the random little scraps of planet that you've had lying around. These ones I cut from all sorts of different edges, or I might have used like half a planet on one project and half a planet on the other one. This is just where you get to go crazy. So I like to kind of lay out. I had these ones picked out already, but for you, just sit here and kind of play with your different pieces. Make sure they fit and they look nice where you want them. Utilizing my corners for a few things. So we're just kind of laying everything out so you can make sure you're happy with it. And then if you have to trim anything, you can too. But there we go. So once you're happy, then just kind of move one planet at a time and either put a little dot of glue, or I'm just going to put a tiny bit of tape on the back of each of them. Glue dots would also be your best friend for this kind of a technique because they're quick and easy to grab, and that makes your crafting a lot more simple. Don't forget, some of the papers, they'll have two different sides that you can use too. So feel free to kind of turn your papers over and see if there's something on the back that appeals to you. Most of the planet ones will have that like galaxy page behind it, so it'll be very black, but it's okay. So these I'm putting on flat. I'm not making all of my planets 3D because I wanted to give little dimension and make it look like the solar system actually kind of was jumping out at you from space. Okay, so if you had any planets that were like full circles and you wanted to line them up on the edge, you can always just add them and trim them off. That's why we left this off of the card. All of mine were edge pieces that I had left over, so it was quite simple to do. So make sure there's nothing sticking out the other side, and then we're going to put tape or glue on the back of this and attach it to your card. So this one, give a generous amount. Make sure you've got tape maybe along the whole perimeter, just because there is quite a bit to it. You don't want it falling off on you. Bring our base back. Plunk that on. There. Perfect. So there is card set number 1 and the cards that I'm going to teach you how to make today, but I did promise I was going to show you a bunch of other ideas. So I'll kind of put them down, I'll move my hands. You can always click pause or take a screenshot of them. They don't have any measurements, but for the most part, I've kind of used the same frame, designer paper, base, measurement, and then there might just be like the odd little extra feature on there too. The one that I used for my June class, I will maybe do a video on later, so I'll have the video for that posted at some point too. So here we go, card number 1. Here's card number 2. This one, I only had scraps of this paper left, so I ended up just cutting it into strips and making a background and then putting my planets on. And then I have a nice shuttle blasting off into space. I embossed this one with silver embossing powder. And there is a really cute die that makes these flames. So I just cut out 2 of those and kind of stuck them in the back. And then here I just stamped with the lemon lime twist up on a planet. So you don't have to emboss. You could just stamp too. Here's another one with a rocket ship, and we're getting a little fancy. I've added a few of those stars that I cut out using the little holographic paper. So you can see I'm just basically picking a focal planet and then adding planets in the empty space. Okay, this next set is a trio. So I'm gonna move them. I basically was playing with the different colors of astronauts. So I stamped one in it on your screen. It looks like Berry Burst right now, which also could work. It was actually Sweet Sorbet, the one that I stamped. Then I did the Azure Afternoon and Lemon Lime Twist. So you can kind of see I simply just played with the colors. I played with the planets tilting different ways, but all of them used basically the same amount of material. And then this little guy, I was playing with the addition of those stars on there again. So you can take it or leave it. They are little. You have to kind of glue them on, have the take your pick tool to put them in place, but they're gorgeous. So this was a fun little series. And if you're wondering, I have done photos of all of these. They're on my Instagram, on Lauren's Scrapplot. So if you want like the nice still photo. And then this one, I just had lots of extra planets. So I made 6 mini cards. So these guys are really cute. I just wanted to use those planets that we could cut out. And, you know, I'm not the greatest fussy cutter, but hopefully they're okay. I found it's really nice because they've got like this black border around them. So if I left that little black border and put them on a black base, nobody notices. And I just made them Your Stellar. So I figured I will be handing these out to maybe a few of my team members or something for their accomplishments in the next little while. So that's a fun little set of cards, and I was playing with adding the stars to that one too. And then last but not least, it's not the most exciting one, but I did want to just mention, this is the one I did at my June card club. So it's a fun fold, the astronaut inside, and it's very simple. All we used was the paper, the designer paper with the kind of stars shining in the back, and then we added just a series of planets. This was so easy for me to kind of mass produce and then to make a bunch out of. So I could have easily made this happy birthday. I could have substituted in a different sentiment from another set and made them for a birthday party. This could be birthday invitations. But it was quite fun to do. And I'm hoping that everyone at class enjoyed them. And speaking of class, if you're ever wanting to get those kits, I do mail them out across Canada. So they're $15 a piece plus $2 shipping, or free with a $35 order. So any of you who have ordered, when I've done a video, you're gonna randomly have seen you got a little package in the mail saying thank you for your order, and I've sent you a set of club cards because you've earned those for free with a $35 order. But if you're not placing an order, no stress, you can always still buy the class kit. You get 3 cards, they're different every month, and they're kind of themed according to what we have available at the time. And I send a video kind of like this one where I just walk you through how to assemble the projects. But it's a fun little exclusive set of cards that you don't always get to see the start to finish for all 3 of them on these kind of videos. But thank you for enjoying today with me and experiencing a little bit of our planet. I hope that you guys had as much fun looking at these cards as I had making them. My husband was kind of laughing. He's like, Lauren, are you done yet? Like when I was working on this set, but I just figured there was just too many fun planets that I had sitting around. And I'm really proud of myself. Out of that entire package of paper, all that I have left is like a handful of planets. I kept the insides from my little ovals because I figured these are really cute. I want to kind of make something with them later. But look, oh, there's a fishing thing. Haha, that doesn't belong in here. Look, I only had like a few planets left out of all of my class prep and out of all of these things. So I did quite well, I think. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday. I will be posting or live at noon every Tuesday. And just throughout the summer, there's a couple times where we're gone on the Tuesday, but you will get a video. I just wouldn't be live on that day. So I look forward to seeing you guys Tuesday at noon for the next Show Me How It's Done. Bye.